to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two friends recap, review, giggle, and snort over a new romance novel each week. We thought you might need a refresher going into the movie release later this week, so we decided to cover 50 Shades Freed by E.L. James. Let's jump right in.
Squiggle lines. Yeah, okay.
Okay, hi, Erin.
But they're just like little blips. Hi, Mel.
Are your squiggly lines back up and better than ever?
Yes.
Excellent.
We are joined here in the studio with Rooster the dog.
Wait, no, she's not in the room. I'm so
sorry. She has to be because this moose is just walking around outside.
Okay. All right. We've had some moose drama, listener. We tried starting this podcast already, and then a moose came up onto Erin's porch.
Tried to get in my house, you guys. I almost had a moose visitor.
A moose burglar.
Yeah, and so my dog went crazy, and I was like, what is this bitch barking at? Like another leaf blew down the street.
This
like
drama,
we're doing this again.
Canine.
There's a child outside. Is that what she's freaking out about? And then I'm like, okay, Mel, I'm sorry. My dog's acting up. Because we usually record at like 3 a.m. when my house is very, very quiet, and Rooster can't be roused to save somebody's life, you know? And so now it's 9 a.m. and she's awake. And so I was like, oh, God, let me quiet this dog. I'm sorry. I left. And I was like, Rooster, stop barking at the... Wow! Huge bull moose outside the window.
So now we're going to hear her licking things. We're going to hear her ears
She's going to make a lot of
flapping.
mouth noises. I'm sorry, guys, but this moose just keeps just sauntering up and down the street, just freaking the fuck out of my dog.
Oh, my God. And also freaking the fuck out of your personage. I mean, yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. I took a little video of the moose trying to eat the rock in my front yard. Or one of the people who have like just a boulder sitting in their front yard for decor. Like, I don't know who chose this, but we can't unchoose it. So there it is. And the moose is just like, nom, 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 snow on rock, nom, nom, nom. Like, what? Anyway.
Oh my Christ, una bicicleta.
How are you?
I'm great now. This is amazing.
Remember the first time we started this podcast and the banter was kind of like meh?
Oh, Jesus Lord.
Hey there.
The banter was like, yeah, so how was your week? Well, you know,
it was fine.
There was a moose, but like the moose was 2 houses down at that point. Jesus.
Yeah, because I was trying to take a picture of the moose
and I kept calling
to you, and she kept calling, and I'm like, Melanie, I'm trying to gift you a picture of a moose. The wild animal problem here on Vampire Island. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's a callback. It's a callback to a previous episode.
It was. I think that's
You're
episode 4 or 5.
I don't know.
Vampire
4.
Island. They can figure all of their shit out except the wild animal problem.
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't
they had witches that did everything for them.
The witches cloaked the whole goddamn island. Could not get rid of the wildebeest.
Those wild animals everywhere.
Yeah, so, wow.
Okay.
This was great. This was really nice. And I can't wait to see all the pictures of this moose.
Yeah, I took a little video of it nomming on the snow. And then when it started to come at us, I went and grabbed Rooster. She was barking her face off.
I don't blame her. Good job, Rooster.
Good job, Rooster.
That's right. Good job.
Just looking at me with her snaggletooth snarl face.
Aww.
And she's had an exciting week because we had an earthquake tsunami earlier this week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I texted you like a Muppet, being like, is you okay?
Yeah, and I woke up and I'm like, what the fuck is she even talking about? I'm like, Melody got drunk and it's a Monday night. That's weird. And then I was like, oh, yeah, that earthquake / tsunami we had, I guess.
It was a wave.
And then I went to the internet and the internet just freaked out. I don't know why. But Rooster freaked out, too. She was trying her very hardest to burrow into the carpet for safety.
Oh, honey, that's not how that works.
She's dumb.
You dummy. Oh, man.
All right.
The other thing...
Shades. Nope.
No. That's the other thing that happened this week. I did this to us. On the post, it said, like, thanks, listeners, for all your great recommendations. All the books on there, except for 50 Shades, I believe, are listener recommendations. I did 50 Shades to us. Because when we were first starting the thing, I was a little bit like freaking out about making sure we had enough books to start and like, and so I saw that the movie was coming out and I was like, oh, that's, we could do like a topical thing. That's fun. And Oh my Jesus. Now that I think about it, I really think that maybe I could have done, I don't know, an actually good BDSM novel, like by a Tiffany Rice or as someone else that we love, because there is good BDSM erotica out there. And I'm just too literal sometimes. But we did have one person say, like, I'm going to need the refresher. And Erin disagrees with that because nothing happens in this book.
Nothing happens in this book. Like, Melanie and I were texting earlier this week. We usually try to have one of us kind of take the lead on the plot and like make the notes and stuff. And she's like, oh, I'll take the lead because like I've read it before. And I'm like, that's not a good idea, Mel, because if you've read this more than 15 minutes ago, you will immediately forget everything that happens because literally nothing happens until like the last 20 pages of the book. Like I opened this thing.
And then the two things that happen are just like unnecessary plot twists.
I mean, they aren't twists. It's just like...
Yeah, that's true.
And then they had sex, and then they had a conversation, and then they went downstairs, and then she went shopping, and then she put on makeup, and then she goes to work, and then she reads a book. Like, it's literally...
And then they email. And then they have sex.
Then they email.
But then they have sex.
It's like
they have sex.
Just like a regular, really boring marriage. And that's not what fantasy is about.
Yeah, it kind of is, except for the fact that like none of it is rooted in any sort of reality. Because let's review. He is a 28-year-old man who can have sex 6 times a day and like right in a row. I think he's 28. If I got that wrong, sorry, listener, I don't care. And then she is a person who did not care about sex at all until she was 22. And then all of a sudden, he turned her vagina into the magic fountain. Like, there is... All of a sudden, she went from 0 interest in dating or, like, doing anything. Like, she just wanted, like, a romance novel hero, but not because she doesn't actually know what that is. And then... all of a sudden, she just gets wet in the instant. The amount of times that he just casually slides his finger into her vaginal canal without any like warm up or anything. It's like, how does that even? That's not how that works.
Yeah,
that is not how that works.
So I read. You
At least
read
not
all
in my
these.
world. Sorry, guys. Is that TMI? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure
correct.
there's a person out there, but it's like one person out of like, I'm going to throw a number out there, 90,000. And I think that's low.
Oh, man. You've read this before.
Yeah, I've read all 3.
You've read all of them. I read the first one and I was like, that's enough. I can hold my own in conversations about this thing. I don't need the other 2 to figure out what it is. I know what it is.
Yeah.
And so I skipped the second one. I watched the movie. And then I cracked this gem open on a plane ride. And I had 2 7-hour plane rides this week. 1 to, 1 fro. And I thought, I'll knock this guy out. This is how I read these books. I'll knock this guy out on the first 3 hours of plane ride 1, and then I'm going to watch Battle of the Sexes because I want to watch Battle of the Sexes.
There you go.
This thing took me 10 hours because do you know how many pages it is?
I don't, Erin.
580 pages.
I didn't know that. I forgot.
And there's no fucking plot.
Well, that's
it's
the
okay
thing, right?
For a book to be 580 pages when it's like one of the last Harry Potter books. Or it's like the life of Teddy Roosevelt.
Is 580 pages. And a metric
lot of shit happens in Outlander, though.
Yeah,
like, nothing happens
too.
in this book. They sleep.
Man,
they wake up. They sleep. Did you hear that little alarm? That was my Tamagotchi. He needs fed. I'm sorry. I didn't realize he was
Stop it.
Yeah, that's real. Sorry. I can't reach him, though, with my headphones.
Are you... Oh my God.
I can't reach him.
Are you a 12-year-old in 1995? What is happening? Oh, I'm sorry. No, that would be more like 2000. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I asked you if you were a 12-year-old in 1995. And then I was like, that's unfair. It's probably 98 to 2000 when the Tamagotchis happened.
Well,
have you put new batteries into that?
It's the 20th anniversary, 25th. I don't know. It's an anniversary of Tamagotchi.
Oh my God, I am.
And David got it for me for Christmas as a stocking stuffer, and I'm pretty excited that it's like January 29th or whatever, and this guy's still alive. That's how I feel about that. Sorry, I didn't know he was in here. He's currently like kind of a fishy thing with a tail. Hopefully he'll grow up soon.
I had a mermaid.
Oh, don't make fun of me.
I had a mermaid. I don't have a Tamagotchi. You're a 30-year-old woman.
I'm a 31-year-old woman.
Oh, snap. You're 31 years old. Okay.
All right.
You know what?
Anyway,
no,
back to 50 Shades of Grey.
Love what you love. All right?
Yeah,
I can't wait to see your Tamagotchi turn into a beautiful mermaid.
Yeah. You know what my lady love recommendation is going to be at the end of this? It's going to be fucking Tamagotchis.
Great.
Yeah, I had a good one, and now it's going to be that. And you know what? Like your weird Macbeth reference last week, there's going to be like 2 to 3 people that come out of the woodwork and they're like, me too, we love Tamagotchis. Where are your people? Yeah.
It's true. You're
not my best friend, but 3 internet strangers are going to be like, we love you for who you are, Erin.
You're right. I had a dick moment just now. I am officially put in my place.
Thank
you. Especially, and I really have no room to talk because I did this to us. Let's review.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
So
should we just...
Okay. We jump in. This is now 3 months after they met and they are on their honeymoon.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah.
This is 3 months into their marriage or 3 months after they met?
3 months after they met. 3 months after... She showed up to do the interview.
3 months ago, she stumbled into his office.
That's right. She fell right down.
3 months before the beginning of this book.
Yep. Because the first book let's review is only like a month long.
But I thought it was like, okay. Well, I just assumed that the second book, because they talk in this book about like times they've broken up and like times they've had. And they like go back to the hotel where they first like snuggled up and they're like, remember
3 months ago.
3 months ago? You know what? That makes sense because, like, late in this book, she's like,
I married him too fast.
22 years old. Yeah, she says that, but I just assumed it was like a year or something. And she's like, I'm 22 years old and I'm like a married old woman. And I was like, you're 22 years old?
Yeah, she's 22 and they met 3 months ago. So they have broken up. They broke up at the end of book 1, which I'm sure you recall from reading it. And then book 2, other shit happens, including but not limited to her being stalked by his one of his ex-subs who has mental problems now, which is also not how that works. BDSM, being into that does not mean that you have anything to work out. It does not mean that you have any mental problems. That's not how that works. And that's why...
But to be fair, if you entered into this contractual relationship with Christian Grey where you lived in his weird white room in his house and had a contract about butt plugs, you probably do have mental problems. So like her specific situation, I think does.
No. Okay, wait. I actually have something to say about that. Get ready.
Oh, God. Is this going to be... Things we don't know about Melody? Beep, boop, beep. Things we don't know about Melody.
No. But I saw a lot of social media this week that was like, well, nobody's consent boner is going to be unfurled. And actually, I have a counter opinion to that. The only thing that's good about the first book is their talk about limits. Their talk about, like, the contract is the coolest fucking shit ever because... it's not actually legally binding. Like, the whole, we have to be in this relationship for X amount of days, not great. But the fact that it was a jumping off point to have talks about what their boundaries are, what they're into, what they're not into, what they will do, what they won't do, the types of toys. Like, I love the fact that everything is so spelled out. She's not into rope play, so there's not going to be any rope play. She's not into breath control, so there wasn't any of that. Like, they hammered that shit out at the beginning, and it was most fucking excellent. Now, the emotional abuse aspect, not great. Not my fave.
Right.
But the contract was awesome because consent abounds in this nonsense.
Yeah, but to agree to his terms where you have to eat like 300 calories per meal, and I know, but this Layla lady
Oh, that's
did.
true. Layla did.
And so I think that she probably does have some mental issues if she's going to like go to his doctor and, you know, like all that shit that was in that contract. Like,
well,
you'd have to be super crazy. I know you've got to get tested for STDs, Melody. I got it.
No, I wasn't about to say that. I was saying that like, it's not necessarily because it was a weekend relationship. They only saw each other on the weekends. The spirit of the contract is that she is his submissive. Like, that could be a very, very healthy thing if everyone involved is a consenting adult. Like, that's not where my judgment lies. My judgment lies in the assumption that if you like to be a dominant, then you're automatically a sadist who wants to hurt little girls who look like the quote unquote crack whore. That shit's not okay. That's not how that works.
I just think that signing that contract is crazy because it tells you how many times to exercise per week. Nope. All right. Okay.
Yes, that's not Erin's
this book
deal. Okay, yeah. So they're on their honeymoon. 3 months in, it's bliss. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It opens on the crazy mom nightmare.
Crazy mom nightmare.
He has a crazy nightmare because they are currently in a fight over whether or not she is going to obey him in their vows. And so then he's like, oh, I hate it when we fight. And then she's like, I hate fighting with you too. Let's never do it again. And then they bang it out and then we're at the honeymoon.
But then the honeymoon flashes back 3 times. It's like, why couldn't she just make this book chronological? It's like Monte Carlo on the beach, flash back to the proposal, Monte Carlo on the beach again, flash back to the wedding, Monte Carlo on the beach again,
Erin?
Flash back to the plane ride to the honeymoon.
E.L. James is an incredibly inspired and creative author. And so I don't like you taking issue with her chronology.
I prefer her moniker Snow Dragon Ice Queen, Snow Dragons, and that's what we're going to call her.
Fair. Okay. So they're on the beach in Monte Carlo and they're flirting and doing things. And then he's
They've got a yacht that's beautiful from 1920. Now imagine yourselves a 1920 yacht and think to yourself, is that where I want to spend my honeymoon or is it real folksy and weird? I think it would be real folksy and weird. But apparently they've got a state-of-the-art yacht from 1920. I imagine it to be the size of a postage stamp.
I know.
Made completely out of wood.
You know.
And be like real stinky in there. I think it would be real stinky in there.
I think that the Duke or whoever they had it from got it refurbished once or twice. Like, who knows? But yes, a state-of-the-art 1920s yacht. Get stoked. But right now, they're currently on the beach and he's putting a sunscreen on her and taking off her top. No. She's saying, would you mind if I went topless? And he's like, I would hate that. And then he goes off swimming. After he tosses her in the water, there's some water tossing and some almost doing it in the ocean, which is not comfy.
Not a good idea.
No,
I mean,
don't put those
inside your
microbes.
vaginal canal is not the best.
Don't do
idea.
that.
Microbes too, good. Also, I don't even understand like lubrication-wise how would
that work? Salt is not lubricating, you know? Woof.
Water in general isn't lubricating.
Water is not. You're right. So then it flashes back to just after the proposal because we see the proposal in book 2. This is after a huge meltdown that he has where he like goes a little catatonic and then right afterwards there's one proposal and then he turns it into a flowers and hearts as he calls it proposal. So no, it's really healthy.
If you're 22 and 3 months into your relationship, you already have a man that is, quote, gone catatonic after a huge meltdown over your proposal, just get out of there. Just get out.
You know, she loves him and he has a magic penis. So she's like, would you like it if I went topless? And he's like, I'd hate that. And then she's like, you know what? I'm going to be so flirty and silly and I'll just undo my top and lay on my tummy. And then it flashes back to the wedding, ? There's a lot of blissful wedding things. And then talk where her mom reminds her that she did not vow to be obedient. Yeah. That's right. But go ahead.
Monte Carlo, when he tries to have sex with her in the ocean.
Yeah.
The way that he tries to have sex with her is he leans in and says, shall I take you in the sea?
Oh, I hate it.
It's like, take me in the sea. Gross. Oh. Anyway, sorry. I highlighted that. And I was like, whoa.
No, I know. And she's like so into it. She's like nibbling on his jaw. Nobody cares.
They try. They do their best.
Well, and then he's like, I don't want anyone else to see my wife in the throes of passion. Because, of course, he has to turn it into a controlling thing. Yeah. Okay. So they get on the plane. And here is my biggest issue with this, because he wants to unwrap her like a present. And so they get on the plane. He undoes everything.
Wait, he undoes everything. But when they're back at the wedding, they leave the wedding early so that he can go fuck her, which, like, stay at your wedding, guys. Like, that's your only wedding. But whatever. So they go get on the plane.
Or bang it out in the bathroom and come back to the wedding.
Honey.
Either way.
Not everybody is a Melody.
You know what? First of all, I know that. But second of all, I'm just saying from a no judgment place, like, do what you got to do, stage your wedding.
Yeah,
Whatever.
but when they're at the wedding, they're at the reception, he leans into her and says, don't let anybody take off this dress but me.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Who else is going to take off her wedding dress?
Her,
Are you
her
that
mom.
paranoid?
I know, right? I know. It's so
Also,
weird.
I have to say this too. In Monte Carlo, they make it really clear that he's wearing jean shorts over his swim trunks.
Yeah.
Period. I'm just going to leave that there. What is that?
I don't know.
Like, that is a shade of vampire sleeping in your bikini nonsense. And they're like, he undoes his jean shorts and underneath his swim trunks. I'm like, what?
You know, fair. Logistics with Erin.
It's not even logistics. It's like fashion times with
fair.
Erin, which
Fair.
I never thought would be a segment, but here we are.
Okay, so here's my issue. He's undoing all of the snaps and everything on her wedding gown because apparently in my brain her lace wedding gown has snaps. Let's move on. And all of a sudden my note is he takes out the pins in her hair and it just flows effortlessly down her back and it's all swishy and soft and touchable. And I'm like, nobody's goddamn hair is soft and fluffy and gorgeous after a professional updo. Nobody's. If you had seen the monstrosity that was my hair after my wedding, it was like a hairsprayed strawed mess. And it was curly because my hair's naturally curly. Like it is. I looked like Medusa after I took my hair down.
But didn't you leave that in for like a couple of days?
No,
You didn't?
No, you left my hotel suite at like 4 a.m. to get on the plane.
Oh, yeah. I had to do like a turn and burn for your wedding. I was at your wedding for a shorter amount of time than I was in the air flying to and fro your wedding.
Yeah, and let's review. The night of my wedding, I spent more time with Erin than I did my husband. Because bitch was going back to Alaska, and that's what I wanted to do.
And I'm fun.
What?
I'll have to post some. No, I'm not saying your husband's not fun. I'm just saying like, spending time with me is a good time.
It is.
I'm going to post some pictures from your wedding this week, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I looked gorgeous.
I've got a really good one of me stealing all the liquor with Tanya and taking it upstairs. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great one. Okay. Nobody's hair looks like that. Stop it.
Nope.
Okay. So now we flash back to Monte Carlo. She has, in her sleep, gone onto her back. And this whole thing just made me feel so icky because I've been, not in this situation, but in situations where you're like, you just accidentally do something and all of a sudden, like, somebody is so pissed at you. I don't know. So her tits are out and he's like, what the fuck? I don't know. I didn't like it.
We had a conversation on the Penny Reed Facebook page last week where I was talking about some personal experiences, and I don't like, Penny Reed was like, I don't like it in my books when people might be triggered. I don't feel like it's triggering. I just feel like if you've been in this kind of relationship where you're just constantly trying to be absolutely perfect so that no one screams at you and no one throws anything at you, and you're just trying to like just do every single thing to the minute detail perfectly so no one gets mad, and then they still get mad. Like, I feel like you cannot have been in that type of relationship and then read this book and not just feel horrified. And this one was the one that I was just like, my breath caught in my throat when he started yelling at her because it was horrible. He's just screaming like, what the hell are you thinking? You were so stupid. Like, he calls her stupid several times in this book.
Does he?
Like,
I didn't notice that. Ugh.
Yeah, I'll highlight later where he calls her stupid, but it's just, in this book, more so than in the first book, I noticed he was better at controlling his emotions, and he's starting to kind of like learn, and he would have this initial outburst and then immediately kind of back up from it and be like, he's trying to like train himself not to be like this, which, is appreciated. But her reaction every time, her internal monologue is like, crap, he's really mad. Is he going to hit me? What's he going to do? Is he going to do this or that? Yeah. And he never does in this book because he's making himself better, which is nice. But her reaction is always just like so saddening every time.
I know.
Every time.
Later on in the book, there's a moment where she goes out with her friend and he's in New York and he comes back. I made a note of it because he says, I really want to punish you. She says, I know. And he goes, maybe I will. And she says, I hope not. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because especially in a dom-sub relationship, like, if the sub says no, that's it. Like, I don't know. It's not okay. Okay, so anyway, that happens and it sucks. And I felt really uncomfortable, but there's a whole thing. Then we flash back. There was a prenup conversation. Nobody really cares. They don't have a prenup. Great. And then they go back to the boat, their state-of-the-art 1920s yacht. And she's like, you know, do you want to punish me? And he says, yeah. And this is after like going out in the jet ski and being, I don't know, charming.
Yeah, it's like whiplash. He's so angry. And then all of a sudden he's like, cheers, wedding. Oh, I love you. And it's like, what happened? You were so angry just now, which is another thing that happens in all those relationships.
Yeah, no, it's not great. So then he says that he's going to take her to the room. They have sex with handcuffs, which wasn't terrible. And she has like the most mind-blowing orgasm ever. And then afterwards, she wakes up and there's hickeys and welts all over her because he doesn't want her to be able to go out in a bikini anymore at all for the rest of their honeymoon period. I hated it.
Yeah. It was really upsetting.
And she hates it. And she and then she throws a brush at him, which is another like not okay behavior. Not okay. Anyway, so all of this happens. They have apparently a wonderful honeymoon. This is the definition of a wonderful honeymoon. And they go and they buy art and they do other things.
Can I just say during the handcuff sex, his orgasm line where he's like, they have the worst dirty talk I think of any book ever. All she ever does during sex is whisper, please, Christian, please,
oh God,
please, your dick, please. That's all she ever says. And then he will throw out these lines and I'm like, if that happened IRL, I would burst out laughing. And his this one where she's like about to orgasm, he growls, feel it, baby.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody yelled, feel it, baby.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
Life, come on. Feel it, baby. Anyway. All right. Okay.
So then back home, his office is attacked and his server room is arsoned. So he's upset about that. And he's upset about the marks that he left on her. Not the welts and the hickeys. No, those are fine because those make sure she doesn't wear a bikini. He's upset about the handcuff marks that she actually didn't care about.
Right.
She's like, oh, no, these were fine. Like it bit, but it actually helped my orgasm. And he's like, no, but I marked you. The hickeys are cool,
I must buy
though.
You expensive bracelets to cover them.
I hated it.
Can I ask you a question? Legit question about these books. Okay.
Sure.
So there's her subconscious. Who's a character in the book.
Right.
And then also her inner goddess, who's a character in the book. These are different people that live inside her. Yes.
They're alter egos, I would say.
Yeah, but what is the difference? Because I couldn't figure it out because there were a lot of lines like, my subconscious peers over her half-moon specs. Why the fuck does her half-moon... Like, what is she, Dumbledore?
No.
And tugs disapprovingly while my inner goddess slumbers on her chase lounge, out for the count. Like, what does that mean? Why are these different characters? What is the difference between them? Melody, toss to you.
Oh, I'm supposed to feel that. Excellent. Okay. So her inner goddess... Oh, you've read 2 of the 3, bitch. All right.
Now,
so her
I felt like I missed something in the middle because... I only remember the inner goddess from the first one because it would merengue.
Yeah. No, but her subconscious is always the one who's like, in the first book, it was especially bad because her subconscious was always calling her stupid and telling her that, of course, he wasn't interested in a girl like her and blah, 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 blah. The subconscious is this old, geriatric half-moon spec harpy who always tells her the worst thing possible about herself. So it's like, you're stupid, so he wouldn't be interested in you. Or you're such a slut. Like, her subconscious always slut shames her. Meanwhile, her inner goddess is always down to pound. Okay. So her subconscious is always like, yeah, I'm doing a merengue and I've got a rose in between my teeth, which actually happened in one of the books. I don't know which one.
I remember that. I actually remember that.
And she's always just got her legs splayed open constantly. She's she's got to be a constructionist. Nope. The bendy people. What the fuck are those called?
Contortionist?
Oh no, I gotta cut that out.
No, please. Speaking of contortionists, in this handcuff section, he had handcuffed each hand to the corresponding foot.
And she said that she couldn't
straighten out her
legs, which didn't make any sense.
Who are you? Like,
just grab onto your knee, like grab onto your heels, and then A, the handcuffs won't bite anymore, and B, in what world? Oh, I'm sorry. In the first or second, one of the other books, he says bend down, and she's shocked that she can touch the ground because she's such a bookworm, Erin, and she doesn't know anything about her body, and so she's always so shocked. And he knows her vulva better than she does. She doesn't masturbate, has never masturbated, doesn't know how, even after having metric fuck tons of sex, because Christian always does it better than her. It is such a mess. Okay, wait, we have to get on track.
She's not very flexible. She cannot straighten her leg. Like, I just was
that's Nutter Butters.
Who are you? Yeah. Anyway, okay, so the next thing she does is flash back to a time where they shaved her.
Yeah, I want to skip over all that because it's dumb.
Okay, but I just want to say she was like surprised by the whole. She was like,
you're so dirty.
Shaved my bikini area before. This is a woman with dark hair who was shortly before this wearing a bikini. So like, Anna, figure it out. Anyway, all right.
No, totally. Okay. She's one of those hairless, dark-haired people. I guess.
I don't know. I was just like, what are you?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, you were skipping that.
I don't know, because it's just a mess.
Well, there's so many things that just like surprise her. Like when they're in the plane on the way to the honeymoon and they're having sex, she's like, the Mile High Club. I've heard of this. I'm like, Anna, it's not a club. Like, it's just sex on a plane.
Right. Like, and you don't have to try to do it in like those crazy tiny bathrooms that people apparently attempt. Mm-hmm. Like, she's got a whole bed. That's not the Mile High Club. You didn't work for that.
Yeah. You didn't find your way around a flight
to try to make sure other people didn't see you both leave your aisle. Like, stop it. Right. That is some bourgeois nonsense. Okay, so he buys her bracelets because he feels bad, and that's all messed up. And then his office gets arsoned, and then she takes pictures of him, and he's like, I don't know how I feel about this because I objectified women before I met you. Mm-hmm. I had revenge porn stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Ugh. Oh, and then they get home, and he calls her fat as a joke, but then she doesn't eat. Hooray! Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yep. And she refers to this several times where she's like, I'd love to have that fettuccine, but he called me fat, and I know it was a joke, but like, he called me fat. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. So they have a family party, and on the way back, he lets her drive his car, which is just, the whole lead up to that is just fucking insulting, but it's fine. He deigns to let her drive him home, and somebody follows them. So they have this high-speed chase. Okay, the amount of times this fucking book says, turns on their heel, you never cease to amaze me, you always surprise me, and
runs his nose down hers.
Yo, yeah, running the nose. Like, get new phrasing sometimes. Okay, so they have this crazy car chase. They're in this public parking lot hiding, and she's like, and then, adrenaline hits her, and then she cries. But then I'm sorry. They're also in an Audi R8, which I Googled it just to see if it's like the size of a Jeep. Guess what? That sports car is not. He somehow gets this tall, long-legged bitch out of the driver's seat over the center console and into his lap with no problems whatsoever. And her not helping because she's just like, oh, Christian pulls me over and I'm so surprised by it and I snuggle up. And then with her sitting in his lap with her feet in the driver's seat like logs, right? They're stuck together. He just slips his finger into her vag. How? Where? She wasn't lubed up. She wasn't anything. And he just right in. Like, that's not how... Does she not have thighs?
Lubing aside, I found this to be logistically sound.
Really?
Yes.
Maybe I just have thighs that not only... Like the fashion industry doesn't agree with me about the size a woman's thighs should be. Maybe it's like everywhere.
You're also tall, though.
Yeah, but she's supposed to be tall too.
She's tall?
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm just melding the character with Dakota Fanning. I don't know.
Dakota Fanning?
Isn't that who
Dakota
plays her?
Johnson.
Oh, shit. I'm so good at names and titles. Sorry, Dakota Fanning.
Her and Shania Woody.
Okay. Yeah, I just melded
We're
them together.
both up
maybe.
for the role, but Dakota fan.
Anyway, no, the rest of it was fine. But just like, how did she, like, she would have had to spread her legs at least a little bit, and there's no talk of that. Mm-hmm. He just goes from hand on her knee to right up the vag. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that happens. And then they have other sex in the car, which is, I found, also logistically sound.
Or impossible. Wait, sound or impossible?
Sound.
Oh, okay. I enjoyed the car sex. I thought
I did too. I did too, yeah. Well, I also enjoyed the handcuff sex, other than the feel it baby nonsense.
Yeah, I couldn't there were so many things during that handcuff sex that I was just like, what? What is happening? You can't what? Wait, you have to pee? Ouch. I don't know.
Okay, so then they get back, and she's still not sated, our Anastasia. And so he takes her up to the red room, and they have some rough butt plug sex from behind.
Butt plug sex.
Which I also liked.
Here's the problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
She's very like, who cleans these butt plugs? And he's like, oh, Mrs. Jones cleans these butt plugs and this room. And she's like, oh, and she feels very embarrassed by that.
Yeah.
And then she like goes and gets some laundry, and then she's like, you know what? I'm going to clean these butt plugs myself.
Yeah, maybe I will
do
that.
And then Mrs. Jones sees her with the butt plugs.
No,
and she's
she
like,
sees her with clothes.
The laundry, yeah. She's like, I'll take those. And Anna's like, I don't know. But like throughout the book, she's just like so embarrassed that Mrs. Jones has to clean all these toys and has to clean this room for them. And I just wanted to be like, Anna, you can clean your own butt plugs. Like, you don't have to have the maid clean the butt plugs for you.
Right.
And it's like a constant thing where she's like, oh, it's so embarrassing how Mrs. Jones is going to have to hose down this like big X cross I was strapped to. It's like, no, you can just clean one room in your mansion, Anna.
You might could. Yeah, you might could. Well, no, and she does clean the butt plugs anyway.
The butt plug thing I had a problem with was I think this is the first time Anna's had anything in her butt. I don't know. I haven't read book 2, but she sure as hell acted like it.
Well, no, and they talk about in one of the other books, they talk about how she's, I'm sorry. In book 1, a line I will never get out of my brain is, I want to claim your ass one day.
Oh, God.
Which is another phrasing that I'm just like, shall you not take me in the sea, sir?
Shall you not take me in the sea, sir?
No.
I will avenge you, sea. Okay, so he blindfolds her, does not tell her that butt stuff is coming, and then just lubes it on up and just like puts it on in there, which is fine. He had lube. He did some butt stuff to her first.
Wait. No, I think in book 2, his finger had been up there before, maybe.
Okay, fine. But here's the thing. You don't blindfold somebody and surprise them with a butt plug. It doesn't matter how many butt plugs have been in there. You at least have to be like,
hey, are you into butt stuff today?
How are you doing today? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have
feel
to
like
poop? Is there poop in there? Because
sometimes
they've been out doing a lot of stuff. I mean, it's not like they're just laying around the house.
It's
Maybe
true.
she hasn't had the opportunity to do a poop, and she has to do one.
She might.
I don't know. And she's like, man, I can bang it out even though I kind of have to poop. And then all of a sudden there's a butt plug in there.
You know?
I just feel like you can't do that to a person who's blindfolded. You can't just like in there.
Yep. No, it's true. So then later, she sees a photo and she says that it's Jack Hyde, who is her ex-boss who got fired in book 2, and it's a whole thing.
So wait,
he's
the
one who's
from the
arsoning.
arson. He's the one doing the arson.
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah.
And he's like, oh, you're not just decorative. And I wanted to punch him right in the face. He says something like that.
Right. Oh, also, all they've ever called each other is Mr. Gray and Mrs. Gray throughout the entire book. That's all they call each other the entire time.
Yeah.
Then some point during this, conversation about Jack Hyde and looking at the pictures of Jack Hyde doing the arson, one of the security servants is like, blah, 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 Mrs. Gray. And she's like, Mrs. Gray, yeah, I'm Mrs. Gray now. As if that's not what everyone has been calling her for like 150 pages.
Totally. As if she didn't just have a conversation with Mrs. Jones in which she was like, call me Anna. And Mrs. Jones was like, Mrs. Gray would not be comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. Like, you're Mrs. Gray. Okay. So then she's like, maybe we can make out in front of the TV like teenagers. And then, of course, they have quick sex after he's like, who have you made out with before? How dare you? I'm going to go punch the fucker. And then he wants sort of turn it into a cute thing.
Beat him up. Yeah, it does. But here's the thing that she turns it on And it's an old episode of The X-Files. And Mulder blurts out from the television, quote, something about the FBI's most unwanted. So it's the pilot, actually.
It is.
Of The X-Files. Mm-hmm. And then they talk about how Christian was an X-Files fan. And I'm like,
and he's
why?
Not.
He's not.
First of all.
I just, why do you have to?
They're trying to humanize him, Erin, and I'm sorry that they took something you love and shat upon it.
I just feel like if she turned it on and it was the pilot, he would have been like, oh, it's the pilot. Like I was when Mumble moldered something about the FBI's most unwanted. Okay, sorry. It just made me so upset.
He wasn't a fan. He doesn't like TV, blah. But then they have more sex. And then he's like, let's go to sleep and we'll cover third base there. So let's review real quick, everybody. Real quick.
What are the bases?
What?
He called first and second base were smooching. Third base was...
second base is over... second base is upstairs, I think. Third base, most people think is oral, or at least like downstairs play.
Right.
So he got to second base, and then he hit a home run by pounding it right in her.
He just rounded third. Okay, I got it. I thought they were saying third base was sex, and I'm like, well, then what's home plate?
No, Erin. Okay, but let's review. We know from previous books that Christian Grey really likes morning sex. So I'm just going to assume that they had sex this morning because it cuts straight to the family party. Family party. They have adrenaline car sex. Then they have TV makeout sex.
Wait, you forgot butt plug sex.
Fuck. They have butt plug sex. Then they're supposedly going to go back in and have more sex. This is 5 or 6 sexual sessions in one let's say 15-hour period. What?
I don't know what your problem is, Mel.
Maybe like, but here's my problem. Every single day.
Every day
we see on the page, they have sex between 3 and 5 times a day. And I don't know how that works. She's just magic fountain vagina. I don't understand. She's never like the next day. She's never like, I'm a little sore, which is ridiculous because most of the sex we see is just him like pounding fiercely. That's it. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay. Because this is like, I mean, there's erotica, but then there's like, what?
It's also like pretty vanilla sex. Like,
But for a book that was billed as like the kinky BDSM sensation of the year, no. That's not what this is. Okay. So then he goes to her job because he got an email from her that says Anastasia Steele.
Literally the first day back from her job. He expected the first thing that she would do is call the IT department and say, change my name immediately. I am married now.
Change my email. Yeah. So he shows up. And he strong arms her into agreeing to change her name and then tells her he's giving her a publishing company, which is like, wow. Not in a good way, because he's always doing things, again, to control her. Like he has to own the company she works at. And now he has to have her run the company she works at. Like she's never had that dream. And now he's like, you should do this. I don't know.
Right.
Okay. The house designer comes to the house, and now we get to see a little bit of Anna unnecessarily flexing her anger upon someone else when she's really frustrated with Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So the house designer is like flirting, and she doesn't like it. And so first she puts on, like, she dresses up for the woman, which I actually kind of loved. Even though it was bitchy and petty, I still kind of loved it. So dresses up for the woman, and then as soon as Christian leaves the room, she's like, hey, Gia, I'm going to fire you if you don't keep your hands off my husband, because he's my husband and he is not interested in you. And so this woman is like, ooh, like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Grey. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I think she's trying to be more like him in this moment. It wasn't the worst, but like after the car chase, he got really mad at one of his security slaves, Taylor, and calls him into the office.
Sawyer. No, Sawyer, I think.
They're all the same.
Yeah, it's true.
To me. They're just
security slaves.
Yeah.
Just on the same level.
Security people who like live with him and are at his beck and call all the time. And he calls the guy into his office and he's like, what the fuck were you doing? Like just screaming at him and just like horrible, toxic leadership awfulness.
As if that's professional at all.
Right. And then later they talk about how he's funding one of their daughter's schooling. Yeah. And she's like, he must really like working for you. And I'm like, there's no fucking way any of these people like working with this man. Earlier in Monte Carlo, he literally snaps at a waitress. Like, snaps at a waitress. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're 28 years old.
We would have been divorced at that point.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. So I think she's trying to be a little more like him. And she's like, I'm powerful too. I can be petty and mean towards subordinates who I employ. Like, it's true. I can do this.
That's so true. It's great. Okay. Well, and also, you're really angry at Christian. Just tell Christian that you're angry at him and don't take it out on other innocent bystanders.
Yeah, because after this, they have another fight about her name where she has to again reassure him that she is his, even though she's keeping her name for a little bit. Or wanted to, but she's not going to now because he owns her. Okay.
He asked her to cut his hair. She never actually cuts his hair. She mostly gets trussed up on his lap and then comes with nipple play, which is fine because frankly, her vagina needed a break.
How they want to fuck each other 7 shades of Sunday, which they say that probably 15 times in this chapter. And I don't even understand. I think maybe the author found a way to say they could fuck each other with the word shades involved and was like, I'm just going to repeat this a lot because it ties in with my book. Also, when did she start calling him 50 as a nickname and how did that happen? Do you know?
Oh, I think that was...
she's just like, my 50. And I'm like, but that was not...
I think, oh God, let me remember. I think that might be book 2?
It would have to be. Because in the first one, he says, this is 50 Shades of Fucked Up. And I'm like, that's a clunky way to work the title into your book.
Okay, fine. So then she's like, well, I think it's that he's so mercurial that, and every time his mood changes is a new shade, I think. And so she's like, my 50 shades, because he called himself 50 Shades of Fucked Up. So now he's her 50 Shades. And then she just shortens it to 50, I think. It's really bad. And bad. She never, only in her inner monologue, she never ever has the balls to say it out loud. Okay.
So during the sex, 2 things happen that I need to note. One of them is he leans in and says, you have such beautiful breasts, Anna. He groans, one day I'll fuck them. And she says, oh my gosh, what the hell does that mean? I'm like, what do you think that it means? Like what? Use your imagination. You read books, right?
No, she has no imagination. Not when it comes to this stuff.
She says, he's like getting naked. He's got his shirt off. This is Christian, my husband, my lover, my overbearing megalomaniac, my 50, the love of my life. I've never like looked at someone lovingly and been like, my overbearing megalomaniac. Anyway, the love of my life. He reaches for a zipper. And my mouth goes dry as his erection springs free. He smirks. You like? He whispers. Just like, you're married. If somebody who I was in like a committed relationship, like if you've seen somebody's penis one time and they whip it out and they say, you like? It's like, yeah, I've seen it a lot.
We've done this before.
You like? Can you imagine like taking off your shirt and being like, you like?
I know, right? Look at these brand new titties. Like, they're not new.
Even if they were new, it's such a gross thing.
Yeah, it's so weird. Anyway. Okay, so she doesn't cut his hair. Nope. And then she walks in on Taylor and Mrs. Jones because they are kissing. And she's like, what? They have sexual organs too?
Yeah, they are indentured
don't
servants.
Fuck. Yeah.
But I have to say something about this.
Okay.
Mrs. Jones, not married? Not a married person, Mrs. Jones?
I don't know.
Because they've never explained why she's Mrs. Jones, but like then she's like having this relationship with this guy Taylor, who I think
maybe that's just an honorific. Well, because Taylor is divorced.
Sure. Whatever.
Maybe Mrs. Jones is too.
I just needed them to explain why they call her Mrs. Jones. You want to know
why? Because E.L. James watched Beauty and the Beast and she was like, I need a Mrs. Potts.
Well, here's what's even better about that. Then for the next like 3 after she walks in on them and then goes to Christian, Christian's like, yeah, they do it. Anastasia then, in her narrative, calls Mrs. Jones Gail for like 5 chapters because she found out that Mrs. Jones fucks sometimes. And she's like, oh, maybe she can have a first name now. And then after about 5 chapters of just referring to her as Gail, goes right back to Mrs. Jones. It's not even explained. She just starts calling her Gail without even telling the reader that her first name is Gail.
Yep.
For a while, I was like, who's Gail? And I was like, oh, that's Mrs. Jones. But she's sexual now.
Well, and maybe she can be my one friend that I'm allowed because she's around all the time anyway. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, so then she finds a gun in Christian's desks, and it belonged to Layla, the stalking ex. It's a whole thing. And he doesn't know how to use it. He thinks there's a safety on a revolver because, oh my God.
Adorable.
Ugh, not adorable, dangerous. Like, I grew
Also
up with
true.
guns all around me, and my dad instilled in me a very, very healthy fear of firearms, and I have always respected them as a result. Like, stop it. You don't just put guns in an unlocked drawer and not even check to see whether or not they can fire bullets right now. Stop. Ugh.
Also, they get in a fight over this gun situation. He's very anti-gun. She's very pro-gun. You need to learn how to use this. So they're in the fight, and he's like, maybe you could take this out on me later. And so she thinks that he means that maybe she could restrain him during sex. And she kind of gets a little bit like,
Yeah, she's like,
maybe I
"Ooh,
could like do some things
tie
with him.
you
And
up."
that's kind of cool. And then she's like, hey, did you mean earlier like that I could maybe restrain you during sex? And he's like, oh, fuck no. God,
Yeah.
where would you get that idea?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know if I would be okay with you touching me if I had restraints on me. And it's like, what? This, like, okay, fine.
Because she counters with Mrs. Robinson restrained you, and he was like, she didn't have free reign to touch me like you do. I kind of get that because he has a weird thing with touching. Fine. You know what? Everybody should know their limits, and he does. Okay. So he goes to New York City, and she defies him by going out to drinks with her friend Kate while he's out.
So there's heightened security because of the guy, stalker
Jack
guy.
Hyde. Oh my God.
So because of that, he's got security and doesn't want her to go out for a drink. He wants her to stay in for a drink. So she's like, okay, we won't go out. But then Kate is like, I really want to go out. And Anna's like, me too. And so
Everybody's like, daiquiris. And so they go out. And he finds out that she is out at a bar and not in at the house and immediately gets on a plane in New York City, which is not a rational response.
She goes to the bathroom while at this bar, and the female security slave follows her in.
Yeah.
And she's like, can I just pee? And she's like, all right, I'll stand right outside the stall door. And she thinks to herself, I haven't been out on my own since I got married. I have not been alone once since I got married. Fucking terrifying. I mean, honestly.
Oh, it's really scary. I value my alone time a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
terrifying. Okay. So then Anna goes home, and there is Jack Hyde has been knocked out because he attempted to break in.
Yeah.
And there's a whole kerfuffle, and then the security guys are like, we need something to restrain him. And Anna's like, hold on just a sec. I got these cable ties because we fuck with them. And she goes to the bedroom.
I loved that moment.
I did
loved
too. It was my favorite.
Like,
I was like, oh, it made me so happy.
when they got home and security man is all bloody and Jack Hyde is like on the floor, it upset me because I was like, E.L. James. We have been reading for 200 and something pages and literally nothing has happened. There's been zero plot. It's just they are having sex and then they aren't having sex and then they go to the store and then they go to work and then blah, blah, blah. And now a thing happened.
And it's like a half a page long.
It didn't even happen in front of us. She gets there and he's already knocked out. Could she not have like gone out for drinks, come back, and then he tries to break in? She still could have had Christian be pissed at her for having gone out in the first place, or drinking, or eating, or one of the other things he hates that she does, or wearing her hair the wrong way, or whatever, not having the right snacks for him, or whatever. Sorry, it's getting personal. But like, she still could have had him be mad at her for whatever she did that night, and then we could have gotten some action with Jack Hyde. Like, come on.
We couldn't. No, we can't.
Something could have happened.
It didn't, though. So they restrain him and he gets carted off. She goes to bed And the next morning, he's in the corner of the room watching her again because he does this a lot. He just sits in the corner and drinks and smolders at her.
To be fair, he started out as Edward Cullen.
Yeah, no, I know. You're right. You're totally right. Stephanie, whoever she is, really started this for us.
I have this note. She's still calling her Gail at this point.
Okay.
And I noted, I guess now that we know Mrs. Joan fucks, we call her Gail. But how about calling her husband? Anyway, sorry.
Oh, boy. Okay.
I thought that was very funny of me.
So he's mad at... You are very funny, just in general. So he's really mad at her, and then he starts, like, cold shouldering her like crazy. He rejects her in the shower, and she's like... And so she immediately is like, what? He doesn't want to bone right now every minute of the day? So he doesn't want me anymore, period.
Oh, first he comes home and he's so pissed that he says, I want to punish you. I really want to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Maybe
and that's
I will. I hope
and then
not.
she says, I hope not. That's when that happens. Yeah. Which I'm like, no, you just, nope. They just hard limit that nonsense.
And he says, Anna, you would try the patience of a saint, which is gaslighting because she didn't do anything. All she did was go out for a drink with her friend. And now she's like, oh, you're right. I'm being really trying and terrible and crazy. I would try the patience of a saint. No. Mm-hmm. All she did was be alone and pee in a stall for just a moment. just wanted to pee.
It's so true. Oh my God. Okay.
Sorry.
Although she does come back with something like, I would call you a lot of things, but not a saint, which I thought was, witty.
Yeah,
one of her rare witty moments. Okay. So then let me see.
She sends him a great email.
Yeah. She figures out that he knows more about Hyde than he's sharing with her, which is fucking unfair. And I like the fact that she calls him on it. So she sends him a great email. What does the email say, Erin?
Oh, so many. She sends him an email the next morning that's like, you know what? You're mad at me. I'm pissed at you because you knew a bunch about this stuff and you didn't tell me. So there. And then he doesn't send her an email back for a while.
Yeah.
And she says, I will take your silence as an admission that you did indeed return to Seattle because I changed my mind. She asked when he got on the plane.
Yep.
Whether it was when he found out about Jack Hyde or whether when, she was out at the bar.
Yeah.
And she's like,
well, because
you
now
never
that
tell
she's
me
not...
anything.
Yeah, now that she's not in the presence of his pheromones, she can think straight. And she's like, wait a second. Why are you here so early?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, you don't tell me anything. How am I supposed to know that I'm supposed to protect myself if I don't know there's an issue?
Right.
Just take your fucking word for it.
Then he sends her an email back that says, watch your language.
Uh-huh.
Ah!
Yeah, silent scream. Oh, boy. So then they have a fight.
Wait, I'm sorry. There's so many
please.
emails back and forth. But then she says, Kristen, I just changed my mind. I'm a woman. We're renowned for it.
Oh, I can't even. This is not a thing. That's a human thing. Yeah, and so then when she gets home, she's like, yeah, we're going to talk about this. And he says, no, I'm going to feed you lamb. Yep. And I'm going to blindfold you and put things in your mouth and ask you what they are. Like, I don't know. At this point, do we have that much trust, Christian? I don't know if we do.
Well, here's what blew my mind is that she sits there blindfolded in the kitchen the whole time he's making lamb.
Mm-hmm. And doesn't know it's lamb?
No, but
just from the
how
smell?
How long does it take to cook lamb? Like an hour, right?
No. He reheats it. He's just putting it in the microwave, I think.
Really? I think
Christian doesn't cook. No, that's a thing. Christian doesn't cook. Like Gail, Mrs. Jones.
She's still Gail right now. We haven't forgotten that she fucks yet.
Fair. Okay, so then they have sex and it makes it better.
They go to the playroom.
Oh, no. This is where I have some issue with some sex.
Okay.
He takes her to the playroom. Yeah. Trusses her up on the cross and then he does orgasm control on her for a while. He does orgasm retention. What is that called? He doesn't let her come. He takes her to the brink and then refuses to let her come over and over and over and over again. And we all know how I feel about that. And it's a form of punishment. He can't
Dear
beat
listener,
her.
If you don't know already, Melody really likes orgasms.
Well, I at least like to control when I have them. Thank you very fucking much, everyone.
But this is a thing people enjoy doing. It's just they didn't talk about it before.
Exactly.
And he's using it as a punishment.
Exactly. It's not like this is a really fun thing and then you're going to detonate like a cannonball afterwards. Mm-hmm. Like he is never, ever going to let her climax. And it's fucking mean. So she uses the safe word, thank goodness, and she cries.
He takes her down,
and they have time, and it's bleh, and then they have sex where they have vanilla sex, and it's a thing. So then he has another nightmare. He has a nightmare because they're in relational strife. Wakes up and just goes from nightmare to buried inside her once again. No start, no foreplay, no anything. Just all of a sudden, 0 to impaling her. And it's fine, apparently. Her vagina does that just great.
I liked the sex. I was good with it. It was fine.
I'm
sorry. I liked it.
I mean,
I loved how he came, and then she was like, "Oh, I guess this just isn't my night."
Oh yeah, I
First
did really
I'm tortured and punished, and now he's just gonna come and not worry about me. And then he's like, "No, my wife, you have needs." And he goes down on her for a while. I liked it. It was fine.
I liked that part. I don't understand. I mean, maybe because there's already semen inside of her from earlier, so it's a little bit more slick. Like, logistically, I just don't know about it. It just doesn't make any sense. So then he decides that he's going to whisk her off to Aspen, and he takes
all
Kate
her friends
and Mia and Ethan and Elliot, because they only have friends who are blood related to each other or boyfriend and girlfriend.
Right. He's still mad at Kate, by the way, for taking her out for drinks, which I'm just like...
Yeah, and he's also mad at her because in book 2, Kate found like an email back and forth about the contract, I think.
Oh.
I don't remember. There's something.
Did she do journalism? Is the problem?
No, not even. She was just like, Anna, are you okay? Because it's talking about whips and chains and caning.
No one asks my girl.
Don't ask
if she's
Anna.
Okay. Yep.
Don't do that.
Do not do that.
And it was like the day they were announcing their engagement. Like, because let's review, they got engaged 8 weeks after getting faces in each other's faces. That's the way I'm going to say that. Okay. So in Aspen, let's just do a quick rundown.
Okay.
They go shopping.
First, she wants him to teach her how to ski. It's the summer, which she forgets, but he's like, don't bet on it. Skiing's dangerous. You'll never ski. All right, continue.
In your whole life, you'll never fucking do it. She sees Gia there. Elliot and Gia used to have a thing. Doesn't really matter. Anna and Kate go shopping. They get this dress, which is really scandalous. It's just a dress. And then they're going to go clubbing. The girls put a bunch of makeup on her, and she gets into this silver dress. It's a silver mini dress.
May I highlight, when she's buying the dress, she takes a picture of herself in it and sends it to Christian to ask if it's okay that she buys the dress because it's very revealing. Continue
I forgot that happened. Yep. Wow. No, I don't think that's true, because when he walks in on her, but then why is he so shocked by how revealing it is when he walks in on her later?
Let me see here. She gapes at herself in the full-length mirror, blah, blah, blah. She's wearing the Manolos. She's all legs, flesh exposed. I decide I should ask him. I pick up my BlackBerry. No. I need your advice. She attaches a picture to an email.
Stop it. Okay. All right. So, great.
So he's just, when he walks in and sees her, she's also got her hair and her makeup done up, which is unusual for her.
Sure.
And, like, she's got the whole package is why he's kind of
Well, and I think he finally sees like the backless part of it, maybe. I don't know. He's just like, wow, you look amazing. And she's like, oh.
So he instructs her not to bend over so that no one sees her full on vagina, which I just think is good advice.
That's just good advice. Yeah. Don't bend down.
I don't find that controlling. I feel like that's just good advice. And since she's not allowed to have any friends, he's there for her in that moment.
Exactly. He is. Okay. So then they go clubbing. A guy attempts to dance with her.
She gets drunk. When she gets drunk, he gets her a bottle of water. I know you're looking at the time, but this is important. He hands her the bottle of water, and he says, "Here, drink this." I frown at him and see rather than hear his sigh. He says, 3 glasses of white wine at dinner, 2 of champagne, and a strawberry daiquiri, and 2 glasses of French. At lunchtime, drink, Anna. You're not hydrated now, Anna. And that I can identify with. That is what I live with every day.
It's true. You got to stay
Erin,
hydrated.
You have only had 24 ounces of water today.
Yeah, I really appreciated that about him. Okay, so then a guy... That's right. So a guy tries to dance with her, and in everyone's defense, he doesn't just try to dance with her. He sneaks up behind her. He does that thing where he goes from... within 2 seconds, has his hands on her hips, and then he's full on grabbing her ass. And then she reaches down and she's like, your hands are hairy and Christian is hairless. And so
first she wiggles up against, so she feels this guy kind of dancing behind her and then she thinks it's Christian. So she wiggles up on him like a clownfish. So I kind of feel like this, she literally says, I wiggled my butt against him.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel like it's this guy's fault. Like, he came up and was dancing with her, and she's like, Christian, and I'm drunk, and was like, wiggle, 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 wiggle. And then she feels his hands, and she's like, not Christian. So I don't even think this guy really did anything wrong.
Yeah, but I just personally am not a fan of the surprise grind.
Sure.
You have never met this girl. Do you have any indication that she would want to wiggle up upon you? And if that's the case, why wouldn't you think that perhaps she might think you're someone else? Especially if you've seen her earlier in the VIP booth with a man. I don't know.
I just didn't feel like he really deserved what happened.
No. What happened was crazy. So first, this is perfectly fine. She slaps him. There's another thing that's crazy about that, but I'll get to it later.
I think her slapping him is fine.
Me
that's
too.
The level.
I do. Yes, absolutely. She says, don't fucking touch me, and slaps him. Good. We're good. We're good to go. And then Christian comes up and just full on punches him. First of all, he's like, get your fucking hands off my wife, which is like, fine.
Whatever.
You could just say her, and then punches him out, and it's a whole thing, and it's really crazy. And then they go home, and the next morning, her hand hurts. The next morning, her hand is red and tender. Okay. So first of all, one slap 8 hours ago, 12 hours ago. I don't know. Her hand is still smarting. Then all of a sudden, Christian kisses it and the pain is quote unquote magically gone.
I didn't even notice
that. He literally kissed away a motherfucking boo-boo because apparently she was actually hypnotized in the off scenes in book 1. Because just his voice can make her immediately wet in a way that is just fantastical. And he can literally kiss away boo-boos. So there's that. Then they have some fun. I actually really like this. Some fun, like, try to make me not do you sex.
Yeah. And I also want to say that when they talk about her having slapped this guy, he says, that fucker, I can't bear that he touched you. And so he wasn't mad that this guy had like violated his wife or made her uncomfortable or made her upset. He minded that he touched
another
something
man
that was his property. I mean,
that's right.
It was like, get away from that thing I own, which was why it was like, don't touch my wife. It's like, don't touch my toys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a mess.
Okay,
but
yeah,
they have
this like little
fun
rape fantasy sex is pretty good. I didn't hate it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even, I guess you can call it a rape fantasy, but yeah.
It was
so it's like, fight back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they go back to regular life. Time passes via email. Hyde goes to jail for a minute.
For breaking into the house.
Yeah, but like bail is available. And then I love your note. She doesn't like her female security now. I don't know why, and I'm not going back.
Yeah, she says something to
she hasn't liked
about
Prescott
like she
for a
didn't
while.
like this Prescott woman who's following her, and I was like, "There's got to be a reason for that happened."
No, there's not.
In the
There's
book,
literally not.
No,
other than
I'm
Prescott doesn't smile because she's at her work job.
Yeah,
so
and
Prescott doesn't smile.
She works for Christian, who is an awful, awful boss.
Oh, and then Layla shows up, the stalkering ex.
All right, another non-plot. Yeah, Layla shows up, dum-dum, and she's in the waiting room, and she's waiting for her, like, what's gonna happen? And she, like, agrees to see her, even though Christian told her that she wasn't allowed to, and it's like, she's got to get frisked for weapons, and what does she want, and blah, 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 and she's like, hey, I just came to thank Christian for sending me to art school. And then, like, Christian shows up and is like, why are you here? And she's like, because I wanted to say thank you for sending me to art school. And then that's done. And I'm like,
and also to make sure that you're happy and okay because Layla's in love with him.
Also, she brings this other former sub with her who's like, who the fuck? And she's like, I'll just wait in the lobby. Like, she's a non-character who had a non-thing to say. And, like, Layla's a non-plot device. Like, I have no idea why this happened. It literally added nothing to the book.
Well, other than, what's her name? Anastasia being like, you better not be mad at me. Like, she put her foot down. Okay. So Ray has an accident. Her stepdad has an accident. Another total non-plot. There's no
Non-plot.
reason for Ray
He's
to
in
go to
a
the hospital.
Car accident. I thought maybe it was the car like that had chased them earlier.
Nope.
Like maybe it had something to do with that. It doesn't. It's
Random
just
drunk driver.
Random drunk driver.
Not a thing.
It's just a way to bring Jose back, I feel like. I don't
Maybe.
know because Jose's dad was in the car. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and since Jose can't be an actual werewolf in this one, they need some other reason for him to come back.
Ha.
Yeah, then she tells everyone in the office, which makes no sense. Like, don't show me that. I know she has to tell everyone that her dad has been in an accident.
But like, this is what, I'm sorry that that's my note, but this is my problem with the book.
I know.
It literally goes through every single person. She's like, hey, Hannah, my assistant.
Yeah.
My father was in an accident. I'm going to have to leave for a while. Here's what I need you to do while I'm gone. Then she goes to like the office managers like, hey, my dad was in an accident. Here's what I need you to do while I'm gone. I need about a week and a half. She goes to every person. Like,
I know.
Why are we, like.
It's a mess.
This is 580 pages long.
No, I know. So then while they're down in Portland, because that's where Ray's in the hospital, he throws her a surprise party and he gets her own R8, which is something that she asked for earlier in the book.
Right. Can I tell you this too?
Oh, yeah, please.
They don't know if he's going to die. He's in critical condition, blah, 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 blah. Ray is. So the doctor comes out.
Oh, yeah. Dr.
says,
Blue Eyes? I don't know.
Whatever. Says, you're his next of kin, the doctor says. Yes, his bright blue eyes almost match his scrubs, and under any other circumstances I would have found him attractive. I'm his daughter, Anna. Miss Steele, he says. Mrs. Gray. Christian interrupts him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, because this is the time. Please interrupt the doctor that's about to be like, your dad is dead, to be like, I'm sorry, she's married to me. She's mine. She's my property. Don't mistake this. Like, Jesus Christ, Christian. It's not the time.
Yeah. So then Ray wakes up, all is better because once again, didn't need to happen.
Yep.
The cop interviews her and tells her that Hyde's story is that she sexually harassed him. Also, don't know why I need to know that. Like, book, why do I need to know that?
Oh, God. Also, there's some sex in here where they're in the hotel because she has to stay in that Portland hotel with Ray.
The Heathman.
Yeah. And so they're gonna have some sex in the hotel. And Christian, they're about to get on the couch and have sex, and he lays down a towel. And I was like,
oh, you were excited.
Oh, it's time for anal. Like, this is going to happen.
Oh, I was thinking either anal or he was going to try to make her squirt. But
sure.
neither of those things happened.
Whatever. I was like, towel time. Like, tell me something interesting is going to happen. No, they just didn't want to damage the upholstery, and they just had regular-ass vanilla sex. Nope, not regular-ass vanilla sex, just regular vanilla sex. And I was like, oh, God damn it. Like, I was reading this, and I looked over to my boyfriend, and I was like, he just laid on a towel, and he's like, anal. And I'm like, nope, didn't happen.
That's amazing. Okay, so then another thing that just happens is that all of a sudden, it's been 13 weeks since she had her shot, and she doesn't know, and she runs into her doctor, who is like, Anna, you've rescheduled a bunch of appointments. Come up and see me now, because that's how doctors work. And
that's how doctors who are afraid of the wrath of Christian Grey work.
Maybe.
He may have like assassinated this doctor.
Oh,
if
I
it was
know.
her fault.
Yeah, so then she's pregnant, everyone. She's pregnant. And at first she's really freaked out, but then she's like, what does she call it?
A blip.
A blip. Okay.
Because it was a blip on the sonogram. So she's afraid to tell him, rightfully so.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just go through some of the things that he says when she tells him. His eyes first harden to flint. You're shot. He snarls. And she's like, oh shit, he's really mad. She's like, did you forget you're shot? Fuck, he's really mad. Christ, Anna. He bangs his fist on the table, making me jump, and stands so abruptly, he knocks over the dining room chair. Mm-hmm. You had one thing to remember. Shit, I don't fucking believe it. How could you be so stupid?
Yeah.
She thinks, stupid, I gasp. Shit. I want to tell him that the shot was blah, 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 but the words fail me. I gaze down at my fingers. I'm sorry, I whisper. Sorry? Mm-hmm. Fuck, he says again. I know the timing's not very good, she says. Not very good, he shouts. We've known each other for like 5 fucking minutes. I wanted to show you the fucking world, and now fuck. Diapers and vomit and shit? He closes his eyes. I think he's trying to contain his temper, but losing the battle. Did you forget? Tell me, or did you do this on purpose?
Oh.
No, I whisper. I can't tell him about Hannah. Her assistant had rescheduled the appointments. I can't tell him about Hannah or he'd fire her, because of course he would.
She'll get fired.
I thought we agreed on this, he shouts. I'm sorry, she says again. He ignores her. This is why I like control, so shit like this doesn't come along and fuck everything up. Christian, please don't shout at me. Tears start to slip down my face. And he says, my least favorite line in the whole world, don't start with the fucking waterworks now, he snaps.
Yup.
Fuck. Runs a hand through his hair, pulling it as he does. You think I'm ready to be a father? He goes on and on and on and on. Rage, 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 rage. And then he leaves.
And then he fucks off because he's allowed to do that. I don't know if he has a security detail.
Can you
Doubt
imagine if she fucked off after that argument?
Oh.
If she left? Can you imagine what would have happened? Like a helicopter would have landed on the top of whatever building she was on at.
He would have emergency stopped the elevator and just left her there for hours. Oh God, it's a mess. So Christian goes, and so then she's like, "Oh, I mean, oh God, I can't even imagine being in her shoes and like being in that place all by herself." Ugh. And then Christian comes home super drunk and adorable.
He was a little
She says
adorable.
I mean,
he was a little adorable, but that's the
was.
problem. It's the whiplash. Like,
yeah, it is. It is.
that's the problem. He was so mad, and then all of a sudden he's like, "I love you. You're so beautiful," and you're just like, "What happened? Did I imagine that? Like, what happened?"
Yeah. So then she accidentally sees a text from Mrs. Robinson, and she's like, what the actual fuck? How could he go to her? Which I get. And then she's like, you know what I'm going to do? He doesn't want to show me anything. I'm just going to look. And in this case, I don't think I care. I'm giving this to her. He won't tell her anything. And so I don't know if it's really terrible that she goes through his email. I don't know. I'm torn.
No, well, it's an accident that she sees the text.
Yeah, it is.
But
it
yeah,
was accident. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? She's like, she's not allowed to have anything private. Like, literally, she cannot pee alone.
No, it's true. Okay. So she finds out what it was on Hyde's computer. It's obvious that Hyde has been obsessed with Christian and his family. She sends him a text being like, hey, I saw this fucking text and you best believe we're going to talk about it. And then she goes to the playroom to sleep. The next morning, everybody thinks that she has absconded. And so, of course, he is about to send out a search party.
Yeah, he's
already called her
at
best
all
friend.
His, indentured servants.
And then she gives him the cold shoulder, which I didn't mind, except that she sort of turns it into this sexy dance thing where she puts on this sexy lingerie in front of him and all the things. And I'm like, you're playing with fire. You're don't set up expectations where you're like, I don't know. It just felt really weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're already in a situation that seems pretty abusive. Maybe don't meld anger with lingerie. I don't know. For either of you.
That's their whole thing is
it
they
is.
get in a fight and then they don't really resolve it. And then they have sex to make it better.
Right.
And do you have the text I sent you that was the plot of the book?
I might.
I wish I remembered it, but I can't.
Your text is, he says she can't do a normal thing. She does the normal thing.
Then he's mad. Then they bang it out. Then he's sad.
Then he's sad.
She comforts him.
Uh-huh.
Then he tells her she can't do a normal thing. Then she does the normal thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the plot. So the next thing that happens...
They have a giant fight, but the giant fight is actually really good, I think.
Yeah.
Because she's like, you know what? Fuck you. You know what you said last night? You said that I was going to choose the baby over you, and you are fucking right. I am going to choose this defenseless baby over you because you are a jacktard. And the whole thing. So
yeah, I liked this fight.
Yeah. And then she spends the next night in another bedroom. He has been sitting in the corner watching her again. And he's gone by the time she wakes. And then he goes to Portland. And while she's at work at lunch, she gets a call from Jack Hyde.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. The plot has begun on page 520. The plot is happening. Ooh, something's gonna happen.
Maybe. So Jack says, get me $5 million within 2 hours. I have Mia, or I'm going to kill Mia. So she goes into save Mia mode.
But he says, you can't tell anybody that it's me that has called you. You cannot tell your security.
Of course.
You cannot tell Christian. Christian cannot get you this money. No one can know, or I will know and I will kill her.
Yeah. So she goes to her house. She gets away from her security. And as she's leaving, she's like, oh, Sawyer, I liked you. You're totally getting fired now. Bye. Mm-hmm. And goes to the bank. She tries to get the money without him, but the bank manager's like, you're just a Mrs., so I better call the mister.
Well, to be fair, her driver's license says Anastasia Steele, and she says, I want $5 million out of Christian Gray's account. It's a little bit... I don't think that's sexism. Sorry.
Fine.
Although, may I tell a story? I'm sorry. I know.
Sure.
How long are we in?
Please.
I don't know. So I was getting on this plane. They said active duty military board on this plane whenever it was. And like 12 guys get up, all in their military haircuts. I get up. We get in the line. We all get on the plane. When he gets to me and he scans my thing, he's like, oh, you're in boarding group 4. And I was like, I'm in the military with all these other men that are around. And I'm like, he's like, can I see an ID? I'm like, you didn't ask any of them for an ID, but here's an ID. And he's like, oh, okay, thank you, ma'am. And I was like, I'm sorry, the ponytail threw you.
Good for you.
I was so mad. I was between
he still didn't ask any other person for a military ID? Oh.
I didn't stick around to see his face. Anyway, but I don't think this thing at the bank was sexism.
No, fair. All right. I was being a dick.
I think it was protecting $5 million.
Fair. So he calls Christian. Christian immediately thinks that she's leaving him because he's been the worst guy in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
And so she's like, the only way he's going to leave me alone is if I tell him that I'm leaving him. So yes, Christian, I'm leaving you. And he's like, take it all. Is $5 million enough? Because just take it all.
And he says, was it all about the money? The whole time.
Oh my God.
It's like, devastating. Just like, yes.
Yeah, but also
you know what? Fine.
What part of her action up until this point has led you to believe that it's been all about the money?
Like
literally nothing.
She's never wanted anything from him.
Yeah. So then Hyde sends a car for her, and it's the Jeep that chased them earlier, and out steps Elizabeth. FYI, Elizabeth is the HR person who has made a few appearances in this thing.
You will have the thought when she steps out of the car. And Anna's like, oh my God,
it's Elizabeth.
She was the one in the Dodge that followed us. You're going to be like, huh?
Yeah.
And then she's going to say, from work. And you're like, okay, I guess this bitch is somebody that works with her, but I'm not going back. We are 500 pages in.
Yeah. No. She was also in book 2. She did the interview it was Elizabeth and Jack that did the interview. Like, it's been a thing.
Okay.
But not really. I had a moment where I was like, wait, who's Elizabeth? And then I remembered. So Elizabeth takes her. Oh, she switches phones with the bank manager. She does something logistically clever, ?
Because Christian tracks her phone.
Yeah.
So she keeps her phone. Jack says she's got to get rid of her phone, so she takes somebody else's phone.
That's right. Yes. So he takes her out to a place where Jack is. And she gets out of the car. Jack does the thing where he does the villain monologue for a little while.
He does that.
And then they get into a scuffle. He beats the crap out of her, throws her on the ground, kicks her twice in the stomach, and then she shoots him in the leg with the gun that she took out of Christian's desk, which doesn't have a safety on it, the revolver that belonged to Layla. You're welcome, everyone.
And then she passes out.
And as she's passing out, she hears sirens and sees Christian running out of a car because he's found her.
Because if she didn't save herself, he would have saved her. Don't worry.
Don't worry, everyone. So then we have the most convenient hospital stay I've ever seen in my whole life. She keeps on coming in and out of her semi-coma. Is that the fucking Tamagotchi?
I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do. I can't stop him from beeping, and I can't. He's hungry.
How many times does he need to eat?
Well, it's like he's hungry, and then it'll beep again because he pooped, you know?
I cannot. All right, great.
We're almost to the end.
I know. So he
at least Rooster's
she keeps on
good.
Waking. She has been. Rooster's been really
She's
good.
been asleep the whole time.
Good job, Rooster. So she's waking and just listening to the most pivotal conversations that each person has. Nobody is ever like, I kind of think I want a sandwich. No. Everybody's like,
it's like really important conversations the entire time.
The one that jumps out in my brain is Christian. Oh, please go ahead.
I hope it's the same one.
Is it Christian talking to his mom?
Nope.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
This is my favorite one. The fog lifts, but I have no sense of time.
Ugh.
If you don't take her across your knee, I sure as hell will.
Oh,
what the hell was she thinking? That's her dad. Then Christian responds, trust me, Ray, I may do just that.
I wiped that from my memory.
But then she spirals down once more into oblivion. Like, I cannot imagine a situation where my father and my partner are discussing spanking me. Like, I can't even say that out loud because then I imagine my father and my partner. Like, it's so gross that her dad and her lover are sitting there being like, who's going to spank her because she's been naughty. So gross.
Like, one of us needs to be incredibly paternalistic, and it can either be really actually paternalistic or sexual, like not cool. Okay, my favorite conversation is he and his mom, where he comes to the conclusion that he's okay with the baby, that he's maybe going to be a good father, and that his relationship with Mrs. Robinson is bad or was bad. And now that he has a baby to think about, he can situationally place himself to think like, oh, I wouldn't want Mrs. Robinson fucking my 15-year-old someday. So maybe. Okay, she gets out of the hospital. She has bruises all over her. He asks the doctor if it's okay to bone. And the doctor's like, good to go. But then he doesn't have sex with her for like 9 days. And she doesn't know how to deal with it. They go see the house, which is under construction. And then they finally fuck in the meadow.
They fuck in a meadow. He tells her the whole story about him and his mom.
Mrs.
He
Robinson.
tells her the whole story about Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah. He tells her like start to finish how they got together and blah, blah, blah. And then in the field, they find out that Mr. Robinson was somehow in cahoots with Jack Hyde, like bailing him out of jail.
Why not? We also find out that Christian likes drinking her breast milk. Fine.
Oh, God, we find that out in the epilogue.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was in the field.
Is that? No, because she's not even like 3 months pregnant.
I was so over it. I was like, how is this book still good? Like, how is she out of the hospital for weeks? We've heard his whole backstory. They fucked, and I've still got 40 pages left of this thing. How is that even possible?
Well, yeah. So the epilogue is she's pregnant with baby number 2. And we find out that during their kink play, he likes it when a little breast milk spurts out and he gets to lap it up. Can I just say that as
I don't know what you're going
mother,
to say, but I don't want to know. I'm already a little queasy.
No, I hear you.
Okay.
But here's the thing. My hormones shifted in such a drastic way. And I think this happens to a lot of postpartum women. Not all, obviously, because Irish twins exist. But my hormones shifted so much that like, I wasn't into it. Like the first 6 months, I was like, nah, kind of like maybe, sure, we could. But mostly I was very like baby centered. But B, because I had a kid attached to one or both breasts at any and all times, I was super eked out by nipple play. Like, no, I didn't want anybody touching my nipples in a sexy way because for some reason, like I just didn't want both things to happen. I was like, there's an infant that can eat from me. I can get turned on in other ways, but like, don't touch my boobs. Don't do it. I don't want that. Thank you very much. Don't want that. It ekes me out. And I don't even think it was like a mental process. This is me reflecting on it. At the time, I was just like, no, thank you. Thanks for offering. Get out of there. Like, no.
This has been TMI with Melody.
Is that really inappropriate?
It's not inappropriate.
Erin is in her sweatshirt.
I zipped myself into my sweatshirt.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure motherhood is beautiful, but right now it kind of freaks me out.
I think motherhood is beautiful, and I loved breastfeeding. So there's that.
I've watched you do it. You seem to really like it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'll breastfeed anywhere.
I know.
Yep. Nobody's going to shame me. All right.
We did it.
We did it.
Do you feel freed? Do you feel 50 Shades of Freed?
I do. I feel so many shades of freed.
I was reading this last night. I was finishing it up and David was like, I was like, oh my God, how do I have 40 more pages of this? And he's like, have they broken up yet? And I was like, no, they're not going to break up. This is the last thing in the thing. And he's like, but it's called 50 Shades Freed. And I was like, yeah, it means like emotionally or whatever. And he's like, oh, I just assumed they broke up. Like, I'm free.
You know what? I dig that about you, David. No, they're going to be together forever, whether one or both of them likes it or not. So, Erin, do you have a lady love this week?
I do. Get yourself to a toy store and buy a 25th anniversary Tamagotchi.
No, I have to pee too bad for you to make jokes like
it will. Oh, you should probably have sex because it makes the orgasm better if you really have to pee. That's from the book. Listener, it's 25th anniversary Tamagotchi. Depending on how you treat it, it evolves differently. It's kind of fun.
I thought you had a different one.
I had planned to say dogs.
Fair.
There was a dog on this plane that was a quote unquote service dog that was definitely not, but that wasn't her fault. And the family she was with was just in like such crisis. It was horrifying to watch. Like they just had no control over any of their business, and they were all over this plane, and like the mom was terrible and everything was awful. But again, not the dog's fault. And so the dog just kept wandering around the plane, and I got to pet him a lot, and it was a real good dog.
Awesome.
It was a good part of my day. Just get a dog. Find a dog.
There you go. Find a dog. Pet the dog. Mine is go on a cleanse if you dare.
Mine is the opposite.
I just feel so good.
I want to amend dogs and Tamagotchi to be like, if you're out there thinking about going on a cleanse, don't.
No, so I'm on day 4 of cleanse, and day 2 was rough. Day 2, I definitely was editing our current episode being like, I don't know if we are particularly shrill or particularly judgy, but I hate us and we are not good and this podcast sucks. And Erin was
you know what? That's a good clue to listeners. If you're listening to us and we seem judgy and shrill and a little much for you, eat a carb and then come back and see if you feel different.
Feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on a cleanse if you feel like you need to, or don't. And P.S. mine is a food-based cleanse. I'm eating all the time. I'm eating like fruits, vegetables, fats and nuts and lentils and stuff. I'm just cutting dairy and gluten and alcohol and sugar and stuff. So it's not like a juice cleanse where I'm not eating. I'm eating, everybody. I'm eating.
Never worry about that. Melody is always going to be eating. It's fine. Yeah. So am I.
Yes. All right. You can find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, Facebook at Heaving Bosoms Podcast, Twitter at Heaving_Bosoms. You can find us on Gmail. We got a couple of emails this week, and I was so happy about it. Yeah. So Gmail is heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com, and we love hearing from you. So, get in touch. Yeah. Oh boy.
I don't know what
Do you have one? Did we say anything funny this episode?
I don't think we did.
What was something horrifying about the book other than all of it? Oh, I know.
Okay. Keep being a badass.
And love yourself as much as you love how silky and soft your hair is when you take it down from a professional updo.
That really bothered you.
It made me so mad.
All right. Muppet Melody. Have a good day.
Love you, Erin.
Love you too.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.